Hey, what's going on, everybody? Fly Tying Evolution back again. Today we're going to do a size 18 France fly in a copper color. This will represent a mayfly, particularly the sulphur mayfly nymphs in central PA. So, for thread, I'm using this yellow olive thread in a 70 denier. And I'll get that started on my size 18 jig hook right behind the bead. That's a black 2.4 millimeter tungsten slotted bead. Get that thread started in there, and I'll trim out the tag end. For a tail on this one, we're doing some CDL, Coq de Leon. We'll take about 5 fibers of that, and we'll make a tail about a shank length long. Get that tied in there. We'll run that back. Keeping those fibers on top of the hook shank. I'll trim out those butts. Now we're going to tie in our copper micro tubing. And I'm going to flatten up my thread here and run it back up to the bead. So to flatten the thread, just spin a ultra thread. You can flatten it out by spinning it counterclockwise, and it'll flatten out the thread so you don't build up as much bulk. We'll get that right back up behind the bead, and then I'll place that micro tubing right inside the slot in that bead. Get that trapped with a couple good wraps, 2 or 3. Then I'll give it a stretch, and I'll run it down back to the tail. And by having a lighter underbody here, a lighter colored thread underbody, it'll show up. This copper color will show up better. So now I'll flatten out that thread again and run it back up the hook shank. And then we'll build in a little bit of a taper here. It'll go down about 3/4 of the way and back up. Give that thread another counterclockwise spin. We'll run the thread about halfway down and then back up, and about 1/4 of the way down and back up right behind the bead. Now you got a little taper built in. Then we're going to wrap this copper micro tubing up with a nice stretch to it. Wrap that in right up to the bead and tie that off with your thread. A couple nice tight wraps of thread. A couple in front, and then we'll stretch that micro tubing just a little bit and trim it out. Okay, almost done with this one. For the last little bit, I'm going to put in a little bit of squirrel dubbing. Dump a little noodle of squirrel onto my thread. Get that wrapped in right behind the bead. And then I'll bring in my whip finish tool and put a 4 or 5 turn whip finish on there. I'll seat the knot. And I'll trim out that thread. Hope you liked that one. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.